In fact, an immigration judge found years ago that it would put his life in danger.
He's going to run to El Salvador to protect an MS-13 terrorist. It's just disgusting.
Well, the moment everyone has been waiting for. A senator from Maryland actually went down to El Salvador, and here are the first images of him talking to the people of El Salvador. Get ready for this one. You might want some popcorn.
In fact, an immigration judge found years ago that it would put his life in danger if he was returned to El Salvador. And so he was given protective status and a work permit. And by the way, that was done during the last Trump administration, the last time President Trump was in office, and they never appealed that decision.
I mean, I am so curious how you guys feel about all of this. Please leave your comments down below. I am in absolute shock. We have a U.S. member of government not giving the full context to the people of El Salvador. Very disrespectful. But MSNBC, they are cheering this on. They want more Democrats down there.
As well, Maryland Senator Chris Van Hollen just arrived in El Salvador just in the last hour. He wants to bring Abrego Garcia to the United States. What do you make of that? And politically, how positive or successful is this position?
Well, I think it's a good step. I would have loved to see an entire congressional delegation go with him.
That may be starting, right?
And you know, hopefully that happens, because I think, you know, owing to the reporting and to the judge's comments, the one clear and consistent fact that we have to keep in mind, that an individual is in prison and he was entitled to due process and didn't receive it. Period. Full stop. Right?
Regardless of immigration status.
Correct. He was entitled to due process. He did not get it, and now he is in prison. How many times have we heard that in communities across the country, even if you are a citizen? We always think that that is wrong. And so for the senator to go down there, call attention to it, and I hope that others follow, it is incredibly important that he do that, because as the judge said, what's happened now is that the Supreme Court has ruled. And it looks like the president is not going to go along with that ruling. And more members of the House and the Senate need to come out and be vocal about why it is important for the president of the United States to go along with what the courts have said. More Republicans also need to be able to do that, because for the longest time, they were the party of law and order.
But is this specific case something you think both sides could ever agree on?
The reality is, I don't think Republicans in this current Congress are going to go against their president.
All right, I don't know about you, but I am so curious what Democrats are actually willing to stick their neck out and waste their time to go all the way down to El Salvador when the president of El Salvador had to come all the way up to the United States and let everyone know he's not releasing him from the country. So again, this is not the best look for the Democrat Party. I also want to mention Republicans, this is the best news ever. Democrats, once again, sticking up for a talking point that the majority of Americans don't even agree with. But we have some more home footage for you.
I just landed at the airport in San Salvador a little while ago. I'm now en route into the city, looking forward to meeting with the team from the American Embassy. And I do want to thank our Foreign Service officers and the whole team at this embassy and embassies around the world for all the good work they do on behalf of our country. I'm proud to co-chair the bipartisan Foreign Service Caucus that stands up for the men and women who are serving our country overseas and at home in the State Department. After that, I hope to meet with some high-level government officials from El Salvador. As I've said before, the goal of my visit is to talk to people here about the release of Abrego Garcia. I told his wife and his family I would do everything possible to bring him home, and we're going to keep working at this until we're successful. I also hope to have the chance to meet with him, but we'll have a better idea if that works out a little later on.
Now look, I know every single person is either thinking this or asking this, who is paying for this? Well, technically, this has already been paid for. I mean, these guys work on budgets. You know, senators already have an allotted payment they're going to be given as a salary worker. So technically, this has already been paid for. But the issue is, what about time? Everything comes down to time, and you would expect if your senator is from a particular state, you would hope that the senator spends his time on your state or at least federal policies that will affect your state. That's usually how the United States works as far as our elected officials, and I know you are all smart enough to realize this, and if anything, I'm kind of helping out the Democrats here. I don't know if it's a good idea to go all the way down to El Salvador to help the people of Maryland.
Congressman Chris Van Hollen, Senator Van Hollen, is sending a delegation down to El Salvador. What does he hope to accomplish? Is he staging some sort of a raid to break the guy out of prison?
I don't know what the senator's doing, but he shouldn't be spending taxpayer dollars on citizens of El Salvador when we have so many tax-paying Americans here at home who are citizens here who, can't afford to go to the grocery store because of Biden inflation, can't afford the price of gas because the price of gas went up under Joe Biden. And, the senator's spending money to send people to El Salvador, and I don't know what for, to go after an El Salvador citizen to bring them back to the United States.
Congressman Chris Van Hollen, Senator Van Hollen, is sending a delegation down to...
Now, Tom Homan also has some words about this political stunt.
He wasn't abducted. He's an MS-13 gang member, classified as that was removed from this country. So we got rid of a dangerous person, an El Salvadoran national, was returned to the country of El Salvador, so he's home. We removed him from the United States. He's a public safety threat. That's exactly what should have happened. And I'm just disgusted that any congressional representative is going to run to El Salvador his aid. When yesterday, I read in his state, an illegal alien charged with murder was released back into the community, and the ICE detainer wasn't honored, and ICE had to go find him. In his state. In his state. The murder of Rachel Murren yesterday. Listen to the testimony and listen to the mother on Handy last night. If you're not human, then your heart wasn't broken. It's just in his state. But rather than taking care of the constituents in his state, the victims of illegal crime in his state, he's going to run to El Salvador to protect the MS-13 terrorists. It's just disgusting.
And this is how disgusting the story gets. Here is a mother from Maryland who's very disappointed with that senator, her senator.
What are your thoughts on your senator going to bat for this illegal, but did he ever say anything to you and your family about your loss, to ever call you, ever take the time to be with you?
No, actually, I'm very angry. I'm actually outraged, but I'm too sad at the moment to show anger at the same time. He did not call our family. He did not give condolences. There was no action on the Democratic Party in any way, from Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Mayorkas, anyone here in Maryland, none of the senators did anything to help search for the murderer of my daughter.
What are your thoughts?
And don't worry, Stephen Miller also is just flabbergasted on how ridiculous this entire situation is.
Senator Van Hollen seems to be under the very confused impression that this MS-13 terrorist is his constituent. He is President Bukele's constituent. He is President Bukele's citizen. He is President Bukele's resident. He is not a Maryland man. He is not a Maryland anything. He is an illegal alien from El Salvador with a deportation order from the United States. He is not legally even allowed to be in our country. Under the due process that these Democrats so venerate for illegal invaders, it is legally impermissible for him to have one more minute in this country. So we honored the law and obeyed the law by getting him out of this country. And if the entire Democrat Party was to work itself into a state of emotional hysteria to demand the return of illegal gang members and terrorists to our shores, then that 21% will soon be 15, and then it'll be 11, and then all they'll have left is the support of actual confirmed MS-13 members, and that will be the entire base of the Democrat Party.
But Miller.
Now, the embarrassing thing about all of this, we are now officially outside of the Democrat versus Republican talking points. We know that Democrats are doing this, but now you have an American speaking for everyone on El Salvadorian national television and literally not giving the full context. Democrats, they can argue all day that he's not an MS-13 member, but there is no way in heck you can win the argument that he was in the country legally. Of course, this senator did not mention the fact that there are heads of state in the United States, to include the president of El Salvador, who said, yeah, he's not supposed to be in the United States. And also the issue of, if you're going to bring this guy back into the country, do you even have that authority? Does the man have a passport? He's just going to be re-deported to another country, and now you have created an even big disaster. And again, ultimately, the other really shocking thing is that recently, very recently, you had somebody else who you just saw in the video who had a very, very troubling case against another illegal immigrant, and this senator did not call to, say, we're sorry, we're going to look into this. Very disgusting. So, yeah, I don't even see this as a Democrat versus Republican talking point anymore. Now I see this as a national embarrassment. I would be shocked if Chris, when he comes back to the United States, he is not going to get destroyed by the Trump administration and by Republican media, because I think we're just all so flabbergasted and we cannot believe this is happening right now.